Aid and violence have been perhaps the only consistent things in Afghanistan in the last 4 decades. Remote and rural communities have been cut off for years as humanitarian agencies found it too dangerous to venture into Taliban-controlled territory. A lot has changed. The Taliban is now the Afghan government, and this aid drive is also different. Using technology to minimize costs and corruption, Afghan entrepreneurs are trying to reach people in need. Nusrat has returned to Afghanistan when many others have left.
We provide identification using homemade ID cards. We have what we call the proof of delivery, which can be in form of video and photos and documents. If there is potential fraud, you will catch that with every time you interact with the family.
Efforts like this pale in comparison to the magnitude of the humanitarian crisis. The Afghan economy was essentially built on foreign aid, and much of it has dried up. So lack of aid, fewer jobs, and financial restrictions are all taking a toll.
In the last year alone, more than 24 hospitals have lost their international funding. The World Food Programme has stopped providing help to more than 10 million Afghans, and the UN's $3.2 billion appeal has only received less than a third of its funding. All that means increased suffering for the poorest of Afghan society.
So unfortunately, we've had to make sweeping cuts across the country. And there is not one district that hasn't been affected. And of course, the most impacted are women and children, people with disabilities and the elderly, because our cuts have been so drastic.
But some Afghans believe aid cuts might force positive change.
They will only affect the largest and the biggest humanitarian agencies, which we know for the last 20 years have not had the kind of results with the bigger amount of funding that they did receive. So I look at it as an opportunity to bring in the efficiencies that are overdue for a long time.
Rampant corruption in the last 2 decades means basic facilities for health and education are lacking. Add to that the Taliban's ban on women's role in society. Although women are now allowed back in education and health, but the bans on other professions and girls' secondary education remain. Taliban officials say they inherited a broken system despite trillions of dollars spent on Afghanistan by donors, insisting they won't let aid to be used as a pressure tool. They call the latest cuts and financial restrictions collective punishment of the Afghan people. Osama Javaid, Jazeera, Kabul.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.